What is up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to another trade recap. Today, I ended up taking a win, up about 1,000 across both my fundeds. And yeah, I'll basically go into what I did today in terms of like my thought process going today, the trade I took, why I took the trade, my targets, all that type of jazz. And yeah, so I ended up taking it long, but I was bearish going today, or loosely bearish, I should say. Not like I wasn't like full on bearish, but I was kind of leaning. The reason for that is we just inverse this 4 hour inverse, or we inverse this 4 hour fair value gap. That wasn't enough for me though to want to actually be bearish because we were already in discount of this range, and I wasn't sure if we wanted to really go past it and sweep this low inside of this other gap. So I wanted to see like extra confirmation on lower time frames, like the hourly and below, to actually confirm that, right? So I kind of just sat at open and kind of waited then for just to see what price wanted to do. And obviously at open, we just displaced higher immediately. And I ended up taking this 5 minute inverse to the upside here. And it literally hit all my targets, but I only had one R, which is really frustrating. And I'll kind of walk you guys through why it was only one R. But yeah, I took this 5 minute inverse. The reason I took this inverse and not like this one or this one was because it's external. So this is actually what's holding down price. And what I've noticed, and Dodgy also took this same exact trade. What I've noticed is when there's a lot of fair value gaps in proximity to each other, like this, if you take a trade based off us inversing, you take inverse fair value gap trades, and you take like let's say this inverse, and it's right next to another inverse, there's a strong likelihood that this could just reject unless like the bias is obviously like full on bullish. But in this case, I wasn't really sure on the bias, so I wanted to wait for like full confirmation, right? And yeah, typically what happens is you would take an inverse right here, and then it's inside of this other gap, so you don't know if it's gonna price is gonna reject from this gap or not, right? Because this could have just been a Judah swing at open, and we could have just continued lower. So I wanted to see us really, I wanted to see more confirmation before taking along. And obviously we did. We had a market structure shift, CISD, and then we just ran through all these gaps. So I slapped on entry right here. The break even was at this first internal high. So I went break even pretty quick. And then my targets was Asia high. Can I draw, please? Okay. My target was Asia high here. And then my first scale would have been right here, and I would have scaled out here, and then left runners for Asia high, and then these equal highs right here. So, which would have been like 2.5R. What ended up happening though was we hit my first TP, and then I actually ended up moving this TP up to here. The reason for that was when we hit my first TP, we inversed this 15-minute BPR, which is, if you guys don't know, it's essentially when there's like two fair value gaps right next to each other, one bullish, one bearish. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's the strongest PD array that exists, right? So I was like, okay, we just inversed the BPR, and there's really no like, there's no gaps to the left that could really like stop us from continuing higher. So I moved my second TP here, and at the time, at the first TP, I only scaled out about 2 micros. I had 5 micros in the position, so I still had majority on right here. And what ended up happening is I think this was like a tariff tweet or something. It was like a news tweet from Trump, and it pumped us a bunch of points, and then it literally edged my TP, and it came straight down. We started chopping around. And at this point, I had 3 micros left, and I scaled the rest out at 1R. And the reason why I did that was because at the time, if we look at ES, this data wick formed an SMT with Asia highs right here, or whatever this high was. There was just a bigger, let me just zoom out so I make sure I'm looking at the right thing. Okay, yeah. So we had an SMT here. Yeah, we had an SMT right here. Sorry, literally can't see. We had this SMT. Am I stupid? Oh, we actually didn't. Guys, I'm just stupid. I thought we had an SMT. Okay, so that's my bad. I thought we had like an SMT on ES. I guess I just looked at it wrong. But okay, let's say at the time I thought we had an SMT, and we also were not. There's this 15-minute gap that ES was rejecting from. So my thought process was, okay, we're rejecting from this gap, and I thought we had an SMT. I was like, okay, I don't know. I think we're gonna hit these highs eventually, but I don't know if price is gonna retrace to my entry and stop me out at break even and continue higher. So I just want to secure like the bag at least. So that's what I thought. So I scaled the rest of the position there. If there wasn't an SMT, or if I realized that there actually wasn't an SMT, I wouldn't have scaled. And right after I scaled, I had like one runner left, so one micro out of the five that I initially had on, and I just took it up to this data high. So yeah, that's basically the trade. I just realized there was an SMT, which is kind of annoying because I would have banked a lot more, but it is what it is. I'm grateful for the win. And yeah, it's pretty textbook. Um, Recently, I've just been avoiding a lot of lower probability trades by just aligning the higher time frame with the lower time frame, right? Instead of just like kind of pattern trading, which I am kind of guilty of in the past. And it's obviously working really well. Today I came in, I identified the bias, the drawn liquidity, and I found my entry, targeting the drawn liquidity. And look what happened. We went there. So yeah, it's pretty cool what happens when you start aligning narrative with price or with your trades, right? And like actually applying logic behind them. But yeah, other than that, that's really it for today. I hope you guys got something from this trade recap, and I'll see you in the next one.